I think self-love and self-care is getting a lot of run right now, which is great. And at the same time, I don't want to lose sight of the power of community for our own healing, and for our own self-love and self-care. That oftentimes the two can go hand in hand.
Welcome to a movement of kindness and empathy. You're listening to Compassionate Las Vegas, the podcast. Embarking on a mission to unite our city under the banner of compassion, we're one among 440 cities around the globe standing together to build a more compassionate world. Now introducing the man leading the charge, your host, Will Rucker.
Welcome to Compassionate Las Vegas, the podcast. I'm Will Rucker, and I'm so glad that you've joined for today's program. We're talking about the Jeremiah program and its impacts, its transformational impacts on our community, on our state, our nation, and ultimately the world. So I don't want to delay at all. I want to get right into this because we've got a lot to talk about. So welcome to the program, Maria.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Hi, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad that we were able to connect. And I'm looking forward to your upcoming event, which we'll talk about in just a bit. But for those that may not be familiar with you or with this amazing, important program, would you please share a little bit about your background and just paint us a picture about what the Jeremiah program
All
is?
right. Thank you for that. So I'm Maria Tucker. I have been in the role as executive director of Jeremiah program for the last year. We've been standing up Jeremiah program here in Vegas for just that amount of time. And although Jeremiah program has been around for 25 years, um, we call ourselves JP. JP started to do a market analysis a few years back, and I'm looking at rates of poverty, rates um, of childcare possibilities, housing issues, and also comparable organizations in different cities. And so Las Vegas was a good fit for us. And so we launched just a year ago. We are now in 9 cities, and yeah, with Vegas being our eighth, and Baltimore being our ninth. So we're excited to be here. We work with single moms and their kids to disrupt the cycle of poverty 2 generations at a time. And our primary lever is education. So we partner moms with a coach who is her supporter and advocate, and who we start with the notion that moms are the architects of their own solution, and that they do have the power within them to, in our case, get a college degree and live a successful life. And so we foster that through our one-on-one coaching model.
Wow. So, I mean, just in that, I have so many
Yeah.
questions about the first one I want to know is, are you from Las Vegas or where are you originally
Thank
from?
you. Thank you. So I'm originally from California, from Southern California. I've been in Las Vegas for the last 3 years. My family has been up here for over 15 years, so I've had quite a bit of experience coming back and forth. And one of my sisters was a single mom and raised her 3 kids here in Las Vegas, and worked as a dealer in one of the casinos. So definitely knew what it was like to traverse the city as a single mom through the experiences of my sister and my nieces and nephew. So yeah, then I came to Vegas after over 25 years in higher education. In administration, I was primarily in student affairs with a heavy emphasis on community programs. So I've stood up a Center for Community Partnerships out of college, and we worked with 12 programs working on hunger and homelessness, pre college programs, environmental justice issues. So those were our primary focuses for that center. I immediately before coming to Vegas, I was in the country of Cambodia for 3 years and working to stand up with a group of folks impacted by deportation to stand up a travel company. And through that travel company, they worked on healing from their stories of forced migration and their family histories of forced migration. Um, so that was immediately before. Also in Cambodia, I was at a university as a director of student affairs, standing up various programs and having a ton of fun with students who I still keep in touch with, who are very excited about education. So there's a theme of education through my time before, during, and before and during my time in Vegas. So yeah,
Yeah, education, entrepreneurship,
yes,
uh, blazing. I mean, you have that woven throughout your entire journey.
yeah,
So what would you say is like that fire that ignited within you
yeah,
that brought you to the Jeremiah
yeah.
program in particular?
Yeah. So when I was 19, well, I was pregnant, and single, and I, gave birth to my son Taj, who is now 33. I was at university at the time. I was an undergrad in Southern California, and at that time, the university I was at reminded me a lot of what Nevada State is reminding me of now. It was on the edges. It's in Riverside. It was the newest University of California campus at the time. It was small, like Nevada State is, and it was burgeoning with innovation. And my baby started growing up in that space. And I went on to get a master's degree. And when Taj was 8, I put him in the back seat of my car and drove 2,200 miles to Ann Arbor, Michigan, a place I had never been, which I know is close to your heart. Well,
Yeah.
that Southeast Michigan. So we were there 6 years. So he was primarily raised in Ann Arbor in his formative years and on campus, and that's where we built a village um, that was very good to him. And so when I think about Jeremiah program moms and kids, I've walked the journey of transformation, of generational change. I was a first generation college student. I came from a very low income background. I'm Chicana. Grew up in outside of LA, in an LA suburb. And education changed my life and it changed trajectory of my child's life. His networks are far different from mine. Um, at a very young age, they were far different from mine. Um, when I was a kid, I could hardly see, as many of us, hardly see outside of our neighborhood. And from a very young age, he just had a very expanded notion of the world. And I think my education really provided that for him. And so that's what I think about when I think about JP kids, when I think about JP moms. Um, the ability to really engage the world, and not simply, getting a job. Of course, we want, the job and the career, but, to live differently in the world. It's moved me to this.
That's powerful, and it's nothing. I say there's nothing in the world like a mother's
Mm.
love, and it's evident in your story and the way that you light up in talking about that. Oh, so yeah, really
Yeah.
heartwarming. What I like to do to kind of set our tone for our conversation is define compassion. This is compassion
Mm.
Lofty
Yes.
podcast, so find how you view compassion.
Wow. So for me, I think first about love.
Mm.
that compassion starts um, uh, from love, and people generally um, have a romantic definition of love, whereas I think of it as fundamental to our life and to our living, and to foster um, compassion. It goes together with love. Um, and I think about when I think about compassion, I think about um, community and collectiveness and regarding others as worthy and to have a sense of dignity and empowerment. I think of all those things as um, sort of like if compassion is the wheel, then the spokes are, love and dignity, respect, empowerment, a sense of agency, even, um, if you will, as connected to compassion.
Yeah, that sparks so much, and it's how we, as a network, kind of try to talk about compassion, because sometimes people think of it as, oh, it's soft and mushy,
Mhm.
and oh, that's just for other folks, or
Yeah.
the other side. Oh, everybody's compassionate. We're all, But I love that you incorporate the community aspect, the sense of agency, and I mean, love,
Yeah.
love, powerful force,
Mhm.
and without it, oh my God, I could go on and
Yeah.
on. But what is
Yes. Me too. Me too. I would add probably justice, you know,
yes,
a-
absolutely.
as tied to it. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm. So let's talk about some of the achievements. So we know that small victories lead to big changes.
Amen.
So can you share some moments in this one year,
Yeah.
even that JP has made some strides in disrupting that cycle of power?
We're so excited for the warm welcome to Vegas, really. Um, so right now we're partnering with 150 moms and kids, and our initial experience is a 12-week empowerment and leadership experience. So all of our moms, over 50 moms, have gone through the empowerment and leadership experience. This is a virtual opportunity. It's 90 minutes once a week for 12 weeks. And what moms love about it, there's several things. They miss it when it's over. One is that they connect with moms in all of our 9 cities. So we're really leveraging the power of the network of single moms who are across the country. Um, and a time moms say, it's the only time in the week that's time for me. Like it's just my time. It's no one else's. So carving out that time really gets them focused on, what do I want and discerning their own voice. And that's the idea of empowerment and leadership. Each mom has a journal that she does reflections in and shares some of those reflections with other moms. Um, we are also doing mommy mingles every other week. So mommy mingles online and in person. We haven't stood up our space yet, but we're working on a 5,000 square foot space in downtown Las Vegas. And so for now, we're using really great community resources that I'm just really thrilled for, and I don't think get uplifted enough, like the East Las Vegas Library, West Las Vegas Library, great folks who are just so earnest in their commitment to community, and supporting us. So we host our mommy mingles there. Um, we've also used Doolittle Community Center. So, yeah, it's been great. It's been a really warm welcome. So, um, once we get our space, I hope to continue to use our community resources, but also to use the space that we have. Um, so that's all been part of our first year. We are also excited to just continue to recruit moms with our partner, Acelero. So, Acelero Head Start is our primary partner. And so, some moms come from having their kids in childcare at Acelero, any one of their 13 campuses, and also some of their staff. Um, so, one of the exciting partnerships that we have with Acelero is that we have an ECE Fellowship. So, if moms are interested in early childhood education, getting an associate's or a bachelor's at one of the local colleges, JP will pay for that. So, for tuition and fees. So, they become a JP mom, they're a single mom, have a child 10 or under, at least one child 10 or under. If they work for Acelero or if their child goes to Acelero, we have a grant to fund an ECE fellowship for those moms. So right now we have 6 moms that are just starting with the ECE fellowship. And we have over 20 moms who have just enrolled either in CSN, in Nevada State, at UNLV, or one of the online colleges as well. So yeah, so it's been very exciting to see moms light up into their dreams and to pick their head up from the day to day. Um, and on a personal note, Will, one of the unintended impacts for me, because we're always impacted by our community work. It's not a one-way street. And I've been honored to walk alongside them in this journey. And it shows me who I am and who I've been. And, you get to be a mom in this hamster wheel, right? And you just kind of go about your day and it's just not really a big deal because you just do what you got to do. And that's what our JP moms are doing right now. But what they're also doing is showing me who I am. And it's been incredible. I'm really grateful.
That's powerful. Seeing yourself is so key. When we come back, I want to talk about the stigma associated with being a single mom and how JP is addressing that and being with self-esteem and empowerment and all of that for the many, many families that you're serving. So when we come back, we'll hear
All
about that.
right. Sounds good.
Treat others how you'd like to be treated. And that's the golden rule. Camp Anytown has taught me that knowledge is power, and if I utilize my voice, I can make a difference in the world no matter how big or small.
I learned that as long as we stand together, we can accomplish so much more.
What Camp Anytown has taught me is that I am not crazy to think I can change the world. I'm crazy if I think I can do it alone.
Camp Anytown has taught me that just because I'm different does not mean I don't belong.
I learned at Camp Anytown to be more compassionate because you never know what somebody else is going through.
Camp Anytown is a no-cost youth leadership camp that trains high school students in diversity, community, and inclusivity. When you choose the Golden Rule license plate, you play a part in a local camp that helps shape a better tomorrow. Learn more at dmvnv.com.
This is Compassionate Las Vegas, the podcast. I'm Will Rucker, and joining me today is Maria Tucker from the Jeremiah program. Let's dive right back in. Before the break, we were talking a bit about stigma and how there could be a bit of just challenge associated with being a single mom. So how do you and your program address that piece?
It's a great question. Well, we lean right into it. And so, as part of our empowerment and leadership program, we talk about as part of one of our sessions and talk about moms' experiences as part of their empowerment and leadership. And it's been incredible to hear the reflections on that, reflections from moms on their experience. So they've become single moms in a lot of different ways. Their trajectories are all very different. There's diversity in those journeys, right? so, so moms and young moms who've been older, single moms through divorce, through being a widow, and all of them have talked about the shame, the difficulty, and even talking about their pregnancies. Some of them about sharing their pregnancies with family members and with friends because of the deep shame around it. So, what is it that we do? We give it space. Number one, we give it space to feel and space to heal from the stigma and the shame. And what that looks like initially is in empowerment and leadership. And then we continue to foster a sense of agency through our mommy mingles. So we're doing intentional community development activities. We're also focused on an assets based approach to coaching. So, that manifests, individually one on one as well as in our community exercises.
Yeah, you're talking my language there because that's what I love. Oh my goodness.
Uh,
If you had a billboard that you knew the whole world would see and put any message on that billboard, what would it be?
For JP specifically.
Let's start there, but I'm also curious, what would it be for you personally?
Yes. Um, Gosh, where I'm sitting right now, I think um, I would want to emphasize. I'm going to go generally first. Something around community love, um, a- as parallel to self love. I think self love and self care is getting a lot of run right now, which is great. And at the same time, I don't want to lose sight of the power of community for our own healing and for our own self love and self care. That oftentimes the two can go hand in hand. Um, if we have our boundaries, and we know, yeah, so it would be something around um, community love is as powerful as and self-love, something like that. And we're fostering
Yeah.
both in JP. So
Yeah, and I want listeners and viewers to just take a moment on your social media and post that because I do want to make this a billboard. That is one of the areas that I am most passionate about. I think self-love is so important, and I recognize how many people really are struggling to love themselves.
Mhm,
And being along with that is we forget the impact of community and our interconnectedness.
mhm,
And so I always tell folks, include yourself in your care of others.
mhm.
Because if we I don't want to put myself first. I want to put myself central.
Yeah,
What I'm able to out of that, yeah, fill my cup, yes, but I'm not robbing anyone else. It's not a win-lose situation here. So I
absolutely.
look at that.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah. And I like that being the spoken wheel, right? So we're central to our lives, not necessarily first, right? And yeah, thank you. She-
And so for JP, what would the message
Yeah, for
be?
JP. Um, I have a bottle here. I don't know. It says, "Imagine what
Oh,
can
that's you.
happen in a generation." And it's one of our taglines. Yeah, so completely transformative opportunities and uh, transformation can come, through that um, that work that mom does, and that commitment to her own journey and to the journey of her children, and we can change a generation. Um, my son ended up, because of an incredible village committed to his success. He ended up, and, because of his own commitment to himself and to us as a family, He ended up at Harvard and undergrad, and I never knew anyone that had gone to Harvard before. Like I didn't, and I never knew a Harvard kid. I thought they were like kind of for other people, um, that it wasn't for our family. And I never thought in a million years when I was there considering my pregnancy that my child would be in that space. And I know that that kind of change in a generation can happen for our JP moms and their kids. Um, however small or large it is, that disruption of poverty can happen. I've walked it. Um, so he's an attorney now, and the first attorney he ever met in his life was one of my best friends at Michigan, who became, she was at the law school, also a single mom, had her baby at 15, and is this incredible attorney. And that was the first attorney he knew. So, yeah,
You know, that is a great billboard. Imagine what can happen in a generation.
yeah,
That is, I mean, if we just dare to
yeah,
dream,
yeah.
I mean, there
Amen.
really is nothing outside of the realm of
Yeah,
possibility. And I think now the way that we're filming this podcast,
yeah,
I mean, who thought we could be in different places
yeah.
and across our worlds and still be connected in this way.
Right, right, right. So true. Yeah, I mean, we don't even know the possibilities at this point. And I do see our JP families leaning into some of those new ways of doing and being. um, I think about some of their stories already, right? And even in a year, the ones who were part of that trailblazing cohort of 14 moms, they didn't know who we were and they went for it, and they jumped right in. And just thinking about their own transformation. So I think about one of our moms who was so shook by some trauma and traumatic experiences she had just experienced within 6 months of coming to us, and her own finding her voice and going from really having difficulty putting thoughts together to being able to lead, to being able to speak in front of a camera and completely leaning into this whole process. She's already started college now. She started in the summer. She talks about her son who's reading 2 grade levels above his grade now. And we have a online tutoring program that we do with our JP kids. And so they do baseline data. And so he's just been kicking butt, and she just talks about he's gonna take over the world. He's gonna run the world. It's so awesome. Like you said, Will, a mother's love. It's powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a mother's faith. My mom is definitely my biggest cheerleader, and she always has been. And it's she embarrasses me a little bit because and what she talks about when we're out together, she's like, "Yeah, and my son," and she's just proud, and honestly, it doesn't matter what I do. Like, it could be I could be president or I could have put together a Plato statue, like, it doesn't matter. I'm gonna be ecstatic about it, so I
Oh my
really
gosh, that resonates. I'm sure I
yeah.
embarrassed my child.
Yeah, but it's good because that support does when it gets hard, when I do hear those door or see those doors close or someone says no to an idea, I can always go back and say, "Well, my mom believes in it."
Yeah, man, that's right. Yeah,
And
yeah. You have
raises
to
on
now.
my
Yeah.
absolutely. So I wanna talk about sustainability because this program clearly is expanding and it's important. It's filling a critical gap in our communities. What are you doing to ensure that these roots go deep and this program continues to exist for generations to come?
Yeah, thank you so much. That's a great question as well. So we are looking for doers, donors, and door openers. And
Mm,
So doers, in terms of, um, we have what is called the Career Volunteer Mentor Program. So we're just launching another round of that. So we're starting to look for our next round of mentors and build locally that group of professionals. They can go right onto our website and find the Career Volunteer Mentor Program and register to be a mentor. So those are doers, and we have networks already in our other geographic in our other cities. So we're just building our Las Vegas group of professionals that can be part of our we call for short CVMP. Um,
Okay. This professional, or are you looking for moms in particular?
We're looking for any professional. So it could be any gender, any industry, even early as well as seasoned professionals, retirees. And it's a very defined opportunity. So it's it's 5 meetings with mom, and there's focus on a LinkedIn profile, creating a LinkedIn profile together, creating a resume together if mom still needs that. And then if mom and the mentor want to continue the relationship, they can do that. But we have a very structured program so that everyone benefits from it. Um, and As well, we're looking for donors. And so we've been cultivating relationships locally, but also I'm looking at and our grants. We have folks who support us nationally on grants. They've been working with national organizations as well to support us. And Jeremiah program had already set out funds for us so that we could get our roots in the ground here steadily for the first year. So and then door openers, of course, we know that relationships and connections can really help um, put us together with folks who are aligned with the mission. So, who are interested. I always think about philanthropy as being a space where we help each other realize each other's vision. So, folks who are philanthropists, they have their vision of what they want to give and what kind of transformation they'd like to see. So, I would love to be put in touch with folks who are interested in disrupting poverty, interested in women's issues and women's empowerment, interested in youth development as well. So yeah, doers, donors, and door openers. And I
That's
feel, yeah,
fantastic. If you remember and it catches, so hopefully the program will open some doors for
thank
you.
you.
Folks across the globe do tune in, and so everyone has a mom,
Yeah.
and I resonate with a lot of
Yeah.
folks. So I've got one question before we wrap
Okay.
up here, and it's really around the feedback loop of poverty.
Mhm.
Is what would you want folks to know in regards to taking the responsibility away from the individual alone and recognize some of those systemic structures that reinforce uh, this situation? So, what would you share about that?
Yeah, thank you so much. It's a great question. I'm a sociologist by training. Well, we didn't talk about that part, but yes.
So,
So yeah, we think about the feminization of poverty and the racialization of poverty, right? And those structures that we can go back literally centuries and see the impact of legislation and policy and culture and the society on particularly women of color. And we think about women of color who become single moms. And there's a book, Poverty by America, that really lays this out very clearly uh, that our moms exist, in a system of the feminization of poverty, that women get paid less. The outcomes for kids who are with moms, only moms, are much more challenging than than two-parent families, for example, because of the feminization of poverty. Uh, Even locally, one of the challenges that we've talked about, we all know that childcare is typically the burden of women. And in our case, always our single moms. And there's just not enough options for particularly young kids to be in childcare. And so it's this system that's been set up that's had its own limitations, that often disallows full time work or puts challenges and barriers to full time work, as well as, when we talk about our economic system and the current inflation with policies that have pulled back funding for food, for example. A lot of our moms were impacted by that. Um, Things are even around health that have been rolled back. Benefits around health, such as the Medicaid reapplication process, and folks just not knowing about that. And so now some, going without healthcare or having to scramble to get back in the system. So we exist in, this economic system, this system that has feminized poverty, this system, this health system that's also put up barriers and challenges for our moms. Um, so we know that policy is really critically important. So part of what we do on our community board of trustees is we have a policy subsection. So we've been following childcare policy, even financial aid policy, and locally we're following housing policy. Um, so that can be part of our disruption of poverty, that we're doing it on a systemic level, not simply on the one-on-one and the community level, but that we become advocates for disrupting poverty on a policy basis.
Yeah, that policy piece is so important. And one of the things that, first, let me just, preface it by saying I think that Nevada is very uniquely blessed with a legislative system because we have incredible advocates. We have a female majority in our
Yeah.
legislature. We do things a little
Yeah.
differently here. And unfortunately, even with a female majority, and this year our Senate leader actually literally had a kid during session, we still did not address her.
Yeah. Yeah. There was a lot that
You know,
happened for sure, right? There was a lot of good things that happened. It was just, not everything we needed, you know.
yeah.
We do a letter
Well,
writing campaign every year. So it was wonderful to get Erica Mosca's
look
handwritten
at that. Oh,
response.
she's one of my favorites.
See that?
Oh, she's amazing.
Yeah. So next session will even be more prepared. So we were just getting our feet under us this session, but we'll continue to do some work locally. And in terms of our board, I'm really thrilled. Miles Dixon from the Grant Lab, Nevada Grant Lab, has joined us. Nancy Brune, City Councilwoman, has joined us as well. And Vice President Edith Fernandez at Nevada State has joined us. And then, of course, our current chair is Gar Jameson, our inaugural chair. So from Compassionate Las Vegas. So we have a lot of advocates, folks who really align with the mission and are interested in disrupting poverty. So
Great. And that's a powerhouse
yeah,
board. So
thank
I'm
you. I'm appreciative.
I want to make sure that folks hear about this Voices Rising. Tell us more.
Yeah, so Voices Rising will be Friday, September 8th at the Las Vegas Country Club, 6 p.m. We ask that folks find the link on our page and RSVP. There's no fee for the ticket, but we ask that you RSVP. We're going to be honoring two incredible women, two incredible leaders. 97-year-old Helen Tolan, who was a trailblazer, educator, leader, and now has a school named after her, was the first Black woman principal of an elementary school in Clark County schools. And we'll be honoring her with a Pillar of the Community award. And our second honoree is President Darian Pollard over at Nevada State, now University. And
Yeah.
we will be honoring her with our Champion for Change award. I'm just so grateful that both of them agreed and that we could spotlight the work that both of them have done and are continuing to do in our community. And then it'll also be a time to hear stories of our JP moms, our inspiring JP moms and their kids. So I'm thrilled to do that. And of course, we'll have share some food and beverage as well as part of a Friday evening. It's a short time together. It'll just be a quick happy hour vibe that we're going to have on that Friday evening. September 8th at 6 p.m. at the Las Vegas Country Club.
Awesome. And what's the web address where they can go to find out
Oh,
more and register?
that's a great question. So if you go to just jeremiahprogram.org and search for Las Vegas Voices Rising, that's probably the easiest way to find us. And I can also send you the link, Will, and you can feel free to post wherever you find useful.
Absolutely. Well, it will be in the description for this program. And also, we'll make sure we share it on our social as well.
Awesome. That's great.
Well, to close us out, just what's one shimmering message of hope you'd like our viewers to carry parts of Jeremiah program?
Oh, yeah. I think one of the things I've learned over the last decade of my life is just bit by bit, one step at a time, and those steps turn into our journey, our legacy. And so do what's inspiring, moving, fulfilling for you, what brings joy to you, even when it's hard. I have two godchildren who are here in Las Vegas, Zora and Zion, and they have introduced me to Daniel Tiger. They're almost 3 years old. And Daniel Tiger has some wisdom. He talks about how you can hold two feelings at the same time. You can be happy and you can be sad, and we can be in this work and be hopeful and still hold joy and sorrow at the same time, right? And that's been my truth, and for the last many years, and that's how I try to approach transformation in our communities alongside folks. Yeah.
Well, Maria, thank you so much for joining us on Compassionate Las Vegas, the podcast. It's an absolute pleasure. I'm looking forward to the Voices Rising event on the 8th of September and honoring those incredible women as part of that. And to our viewers, thank you for continuing to tune in and to listen. Hopefully we are bringing you exactly what we promised, which is hope and inspiration. This has been Compassionate Las Vegas, the podcast. I'm Will Rucker, and as I always remind you, you are not just a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop, and what you do matters. So live compassionately. I'll see you next week.